So Tim, you flew all the way from South Africa to be a part of this program, and I think that's just amazing. And it's also just a coincidence that we managed to line up the Africa Twin for you. You ride a GS, so I thought it'd be perfect to stick you on your bike, on this bike. What was your first impression when you saw the motorcycle?
I think it's a great looking bike. I think its colors are great. It has a great feel, a great balance with the expanded tank. I think that front wheel looks great. And when you look at it from this side, it's an attractive view, and I really enjoyed the ride.
Yeah, you've got the DCT version, so we're going to touch upon that. But let's talk about the big motor first. It's a parallel twin. You fired it up. What did you think of the engine?
Well, it's very responsive, so it sounds great. It's got quite a bit of grunt when you open it up, and then on the road it quietens down quite a bit. It
Right.
has a slight whine on it at about 100 kilometers an hour, and I thought maybe it needed an extra gear, but then if you open up the throttle a bit, it really has a beautiful sound to it.
Yeah.
I think it's a well-balanced bike which is responsive, and launching it off was simple.
Now we have to talk about the DCT, because this is the first time you've tried a dual clutch transmission. You got a chance to ride this all day yesterday. What did you think of the dual clutch transmission?
I think I've got an emerging comfort with it.
Yeah.
It's not something that I was immediately attracted to. I'm an old school kind of guy with a clutch and an overactive left foot, and so it took a while to get used to it. And I guess you have to switch off that part of the brain that wants to make you grab a clutch and change the gear with your foot.
Yeah.
But I think it's great. It again is quite responsive. Probably the key to it is the setting up of how you want to use it yourself, and in that individualized user mode.
Right.
And sometimes I felt that I wanted to accelerate and for the bike to drop a gear, and it didn't.
Right.
But the thumb button there is so close, you can just drop a gear very simply.
Yeah.
And then it really purrs and takes off very well.
Right. Let's talk about the brakes. They're pretty big up front. They're ABS assisted. What did you think of the stopping power? Good feel?
It did have a good feel. I think ultimately the ABS element would have to take it off-road more to understand its characteristics, because I think there's quite a bit of variability in how ABS works off-road.
Yeah.
But on the road, I did test it out, and it came, the braking power was pretty impressive. A combination of strong front brake and back brake, I stopped very quickly.
Bike like this is designed to take you anywhere. We like to say here in Canada, you can ride all the way from Newfoundland to Fino, British Columbia if you have to. That requires comfort, wind protection. What's the experience in terms of just your comfort sitting on the motorcycle, wind protection?
So I thought that I was pleasantly surprised by wind protection. I thought that with that smaller visor, I'd be buffeted with the wind quite a lot, and it's very impressive actually. I think it's great. The view is tremendous in that with my height sitting here, I could look down over the top of the windscreen, and I think I like that. I don't like to look through that. So that was very pleasant. The rear view mirrors were great. I always felt that I was in control and was able to see behind as well as I wanted to. The saddle is interesting. It's not a hard board like a KTM, and it's not as soft and comfortable as a BMW GS. So it's somewhere in between. And I think for the long trips, you probably do want something in between. Perhaps a little bit more softness here, but I was pretty impressed. It was a good balance.
So this is the big one. I love the paint scheme, but overall, what do you think of the fit and the finish of this bike? Obviously it's going to be out there in the elements. What do you think about the build quality?
I think every indication is that this is a high quality build. They're clearly looking for a different market to their competitors, and I think that's a clever move, not to try and compete with a KTM or a BMW GS. And I think that the larger front wheel, the general feel about it is great.
These bikes, all of the new modern motorcycles are just getting so good. They're getting better and better, and I find it hard to find something to fault. And I always ask viewers that come on the show and test ride motorcycles, it's like, is there anything you didn't like? Was there something you didn't like? Anything you could fault?
I think that the ride that I've had with this bike was exceptional. I enjoyed it. It's clearly a high quality machine. And I think that if I reflect on these machines and comment generically about the adventure bike sector, I do wonder whether there isn't an opportunity for more of a relook at the sector and to say, do we really need bikes that are getting bigger? Do we really need bikes that are pushing out 125, 150 horsepower when we're trying to have a bike that's going to be comfortable on road and then off road as well?
Right.
And so really, I think it's been a great ride. It's a great bike, and I would recommend it. It's a fabulous piece of machinery.
Well, I have to say, you know, it's impressive that you've come all the way from South Africa to do this for us, and I have to say you've done an impressive job. I hope you had some fun.
I had a great time. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. That's awesome.